Hey, what's up, everybody? This is Lewis Speaks 2022, and today I want to talk to you about the dangers of being an overgiver. When you are an overgiver, quite frankly, you give too much. You give too much of yourself away. And when you do that, you end up filled with resentment later on. A mantra that I live by is this: I take care of me so I don't have to regret you later. I take care of me so I don't have to regret you later. Because oftentimes when you're overgiving and you're doing the most in every relationship that you're in, you find yourself seething with resentment. You find yourself nursing these hidden resentments because you wonder why other people don't do the same for you that you're doing for them. And the thing about it is this: it's not other people's responsibility to take care of you. It's your responsibility to put a cap on your generosity and start pouring back into yourself. We get angry sometimes at people because they don't take care of us. I know I used to get so angry at other people because why didn't they stop me from giving so much? Why didn't they see that I was pouring myself out and stop me from doing that? Because the thing about it is this: it's not their responsibility to stop you. It's your responsibility to control your output. You have to know when enough is enough. And that's where you start to realize, wait a minute, I must have poor boundaries because I didn't realize I was pouring so much into others at the expense of my own needs. My boundaries weren't good, because that's a sign right there. That's an indication that your boundaries need work, because when you're an overgiver, you're doing too much. You need to leave room and leave space for other people to pour into you. That's essential. And I think oftentimes we don't do that as overgivers. We just keep giving, giving, giving because we're looking for an external sense of validation from other people. People pleasers are always looking for that external validation, as opposed to giving themselves the validation and knowing that they have inherent worth in just being. As chronic people pleasers, you're always looking for accolades. You're always looking for praise, something to tell you that what you're doing is right, confirmation of your identity, of your existence. And the thing about it is this: you can't look to the outside world or other people for confirmation of who you are. You have to know beyond a shadow of a doubt who you are. Even in the face of criticism, judgment, ridicule, you have to know who you are and have a solid sense of self. And I think that's why this world struggles a lot. I think also that when you're in your 20s, this is why oftentimes you struggle with confusion and you go in and out of relationships, because you don't have a solid sense of yourself. In order for you to genuinely love other people, and I mean love other people, you have first got to know and love yourself. And I think this is why a lot of 20-year-olds, they struggle. They struggle with trying to figure things out because they don't love themselves enough. Because when you love yourself enough, you can also pour evenly into other people without feeling this need to overgive. You love yourself, right? Then why are you constantly pouring yourself out for the external praise and validation of other people? If you love yourself, you want to make sure that you're kept full, so that way you can be present for yourself and not nurse and harbor these hidden angry feelings of bitterness because other people don't do for you what you expect them to do based on what you're doing. I had to realize and take a long, hard look at myself and realize that I was not raised on a diet of boundaries. My mother did a wonderful job at inculcating in me a thirst for knowledge, the need for a stable home environment, But one thing that was amiss in my development was boundaries and how to set and maintain your boundaries in the face of opposition. You know, I wasn't taught that, you know, but now I'm learning the importance of definitely standing up, erecting firm boundaries, and making sure that you honor your commitments to yourself by enforcing those boundaries. That's the key word, because you're going to have boundaries. People are going to overstep those boundaries. And what are you going to do about it? That's the question. What are you going to do? That's where you need the discipline. The discipline is, if you overstep my boundaries, I'm going to, for one, communicate to you what that means to me. And if there continues to be boundary violations, then I'm going to have to reevaluate your presence in my life. But just as I'm willing to do that with other people, I have to also do that with myself. You know? Okay, and what does that look like in real time? Hey, you're starting to overgive. We already had a conversation about you overgiving. And this is a personal conversation that you have with yourself. You know? We already had the conversation about you overgiving. Now, what seems to be the barrier? What seems to be what's going on? You know, are you searching for external validation from other people? Are you searching for praise? What are you actually searching for? Or what are you trying to gain? You know? I just had to come to terms with so much in terms of overgiving, because it's too much. It's too much, and it's draining. You wonder why you're exhausted. You wonder why you can't show up for yourself in any real way, or why you're constantly beating yourself up sometimes, because you're not giving enough of you to yourself. You're not giving enough of you to yourself. You're giving everybody else, making sure everybody else is fed, but you're sitting here starving to death. You know? I used to get angry at other people, and I still do sometimes. You know, why don't they ask me about myself? You know? Why don't they love on me the way that I love on them? And I realized that, wait a minute, Luz, it's your responsibility to love on you enough to articulate who you are. No one's going to come find you. You have to find yourself. No one is going to come save you. You have to save yourself. Now, ideally, I got to be real. Ideally, I'm looking for a love story that leads me back to myself. I really believe, in all hearts of hearts, the best love stories are the ones that lead you back to yourself. You know? The greatest loves are the loves that lead you back home to yourself. But for one, you are the greatest love story. You are your greatest love story. You have to be the one to lead you back home to yourself, because a lot of these people are not going to. They don't know and love themselves. How can they ever know and love you properly? They'll make attempts at loving you, but at the same time, those attempts will oftentimes be very detrimental to your well-being. Like, people mean well sometimes, they really do. But a lot of times they just don't get it right. They just don't get it right. And your life deserves someone who is motivated to get it right. That someone is you. You're the someone that you've been looking for all along. And when you finally realize that and make an emotional connection with that and internalize that into every cell within your entire being, that's when you begin to rebuild and start doing the work of healing yourself. That's when you'll start to feel whole and stop overgiving so much. Because it's too much. It's too much. And oftentimes you think you're being nice and you're being kind and but are you? Or are you trying to manipulate other people into loving you? Are you trying to control their response? Are you being nice and kind to yourself? Because keep on taking pieces of your flesh and putting it onto everybody else's body, pieces of your flesh, putting it onto everybody, pieces of your flesh, putting it onto everybody. Ultimately, you'll be nothing but a memory. Now, is that being kind to you? Is that being nice to you? It's not. So, if you want to be real kind to yourself, you have to conserve your resources for yourself. I'm not saying don't give, but also give responsibly. Give responsibly and make sure that you keep your cup full so that way you have something to give. You won't have nothing to give if you're left with nothing. So, to all my overgivers out there, I feel you. I know that it's going to be challenging. It's going to be awkward. It's going to make you feel uncomfortable and create these feelings of discomfort when you start to give appropriately. But step one, know and love yourself. Step two, know your boundaries, what you will and won't tolerate. Step three, be firm in your boundaries, unwavering. Don't compromise your boundaries for anybody. These boundaries are there to keep you safe. You know? They're like the guardrail that's on the road of life. They prevent you from going over the cliff. So definitely hold on to your boundaries, maintain those boundaries, and honor yourself. Honor and praise and uplift yourself. You have to encourage yourself because waiting on anybody else to do it for you, you're going to be waiting forever. So you become the source. You are both the problem and the solution. Live in the solution. So I hope this video was helpful to all my overgivers out there, and I wish you a wonderful, wonderful year. Peace, y'all.